Good
What MK
morning,
doing?
good afternoon, and good evening to everybody all around the world, and thank you for joining us
Oh
today for
my
a Left 4
god!
Dead 2 competitive shoutcast. And Rails, we're already live. Xbye, what is going on, my friend, co-caster
It's
for today?
actually it's actually happened. My name's Rails Barlow. I've been playing this game since 2012 competitively, and this is one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time because we have two teams that are currently being mentored, right? You might hear my voice. I'm kind of talking a little bit differently as we're casting this because it's kind of more like a learning experience because to those who have played this game competitively, if you don't know what Left to Learn was, you're looking at the closest thing that the North American competitive Left 4 Dead 2 community has had in terms of it since like TFPG. And we are joined, as MK said, with someone who is actually involved with Left to Learn back in the day, and that's Mr. Xbye. Xbye, how are you doing this fine Saturday evening in 2025?
Well, I'm doing very Left 4 Dead, considering my Left 4 Dead 2 just crashed. So I'm just trying to rejoin right now.
Absolutely
But
love it.
yeah,
And
that's typical.
It absolutely is. And MK, as we were saying, so these two teams that we're watching right here, we'll do a roster rundown in a second, but one of them is being mentored by Elusive, and the other one's being mentored by PowerLess Electrons.
Yes, it is two people that have been in the community for quite some time. They played on quite a few teams competitively as well. Rails finished in top ranks in some of the tournaments. They are going to be leading some of their people on the way. I'm not quite sure 100% on the one side here, Rails. I do believe it is Strafe, Greed, Wolink, and Jacob. And why don't you take the other side away for us? Or
Yep, we're going to see this hit go in at the same time. That Hunter gets skeeted, Charger goes in. This is the pretty, stereotypical hit on Dark Carnival here, as I'm sure the mentors are mentioning. It's Powerless Electrons mentoring the Survivor team. You already ran their roster down. For the Infected team, mentored by Elusive, it's going to be Nine Naw, Espresso, the Ill Mind of Scooby-Doo, and Knee of Justice, aka Knee.
Ammo here.
yeah, and the Survivor's a little separated right now, but their spawns are down, and these people are going to try to work together with their coaches. And I'm looking forward to see what happens during the tanks, and we've been talking about this, Rails. We could possibly have the return of war rooms for this. What do you think?
Oh, that is exactly what we have, because honestly, and Xbye knows this, over the years, being able to hear how people communicate and kind of exactly what's going on is a super important part of the experience of actually watching and being part of this game from that angle. That Charger's going to die. The alarm car has been intentionally set off. That's a heck of a call, too, by Powerless. He's actually teaching them, hey, in competitive, because the tank is going to be here, shoot this alarm car, and then let's actually just be ready to fight the tank. And Xbye, is that something that people used to do back in the day as well?
Yeah, setting off the car alarm early just because it's going to be in play later on. Don't want to accidentally set it off during the tank. It's definitely something that you would see way back in the day as well.
Oh yeah, and as we see this hit go in with the smoker actually managing to land right, it's kind of like a scattered hit. I find it interesting to mention that just because the meta has changed so much in some ways, but in other ways MK really hasn't. But this team on Survivor side being coached by Powerless, right? I guess we call it Team PowerLess and Team Elusive, kind of like it's kind of like an all-star game of, well, in this case, mentoring. We have that Charger going in, landing that spit, and the jockey lands up top as well. I was just about to say that they're doing a spectacular job in terms of taking this until that hit, MK. That hit did change the momentum towards Elusive's team. And I guess it's the separation, really.
Yeah, they definitely had the separation. They took quite a bit of damage from that, as you can see. Before tank, they're already dipped below 20%. But so far, what we've seen is Elusive, it seems, wants to take this a little cautious, take all the dangers out of fighting this tank so the survivors could just focus on the tank. And so far, it costed them over 20% of the bonus. We'll see how well that comes into play. And they have one survivor up here, Far Xbye, by himself. But tank is up. And it is the first tank of the game in the hands of Knee. See what the survivors do.
Indeed it is. And with that double boom, there's nobody bleeding, but we are bringing the War Room feature back here. I think we're going to go to an infected War Room, because that's always interesting to actually hear. So that's going to be Elusive doing the coaching on that side.
All right, take me over.
All right, weapons.
Do you want this charge?
Probably kill the Charger, I think. I'd rather have a smoker.
Nice. 2 damage. Good card, buddy. That's good. Try to get that one on the right side of the street in the open area, if you can. You can still get it. You can still hit that one when you commit. Wait till your spawn timer's up and try not to take too much chip.
Alright, I'm going in. Oh, it sucks. We have a boomer.
Yeah.
But, oh, well. They're gonna push back. Can you get behind them, maybe?
Yeah. I have a
I
two
need
room
help.
too.
I need help.
Have melee on you.
Good try. Good
I got
try.
an cap.
It's a good boom. Yeah,
Yeah.
good boom. It's fortunate
Hell
that they backed up together. On that tank, when you think they're gonna back up,
And we are back.
There we go. War Room back intact. And Rails, it was pretty exciting there. I thought he almost would get a death punch there, but I think Nick fell on the van maybe and negated
Yeah,
some
so
of that fall damage. I'm not quite sure.
Here's the thing about that, right? This boomer's gonna go and it's gonna land. First of all, kudos to the survivors, because obviously they survive it, so they have some experience on that team. And you know, of the players who are playing relative to each other, Nee is a pretty strong tank. But the thing about that area, right, is it's the hittable. Because when they were going back like that, I think he wanted his SI support to stumble there, which is good because then that guarantees him some kind of corner, if not like a random multi, maybe. But I would have liked to see the hittable still on top of the bridge, or maybe even 2 cars there. That's a little more advanced, obviously, but when that double boom landed, there's still enough open space for the survivors to kite that it's still a pretty support-based tank. They did a good job on the infected side, though, because they went in at the same time. They got the end cap. I've seen tanks do way less damage there, and yeah, I guess that's kind of like a draw, I guess, for both the survivors and infected. As this hit does go in, that's the tri-cap landing. Never mind what I said. The infected want to win this round. It was almost a quad because the jockey does land up top. That's incredible SI play coming in, and I honestly was not expecting that at all. Wootlink is still alive. The smoker is going to go in, but is not going to be able to secure the wipe. That's 3 whole incaps going out. MK, what happened?
Wow, that was almost a wipe, Rails. That was so close to the quad coming in. And there was one thing I was going to ask really quick when that went in there. It was Xbye, back when Left When Learn was out there and you were doing some of the mentoring. Was quads really a thing that the teams had to worry about at that moment, at that time?
No, it wasn't a thing. I mean, opinion, I'm not really a big fan of them, but the community seems to love it. So they're here to stay, and it's something that I think everyone's going to have to get really, really good at, is coordinating those SI to all land and getting that quick wipe.
Yeah, I mean, to people who are newer, because I remember back when it was Pro Mod, I'll get to that in a second, because the Hunter's getting skeeted, the Charger's getting cleared, the Spit is not going to be able to land. That is kind of what the survivors need to do, and it's good, because you can tell both teams are really, you know, they're having that push and pull that you expect in a competitive environment like this. That boomer does go in, just kind of trading blows. But what I was going to say to Xbye is that back when it was Pro Mod in the North American scene, and like I said, I'm stressing the fact that, like, this hasn't been a thing in a super long amount of time, which to me, as somebody who benefited from the first one, it was like, okay, something kind of like this has to exist. You know, back in the day with Pro Mod, you still had dead stops on Hunters, for example. There were still wall kicks, like tank slowdown. It was a different world when it came to that, but there's no reason why this on Zone Mod can't be as effective for teaching people now. And that's basically why we're doing this. So the survivors are managing to clear that hit decently well until that Charger takes that survivor up the hill, that being coach and in caps Wootlink, who he himself actually said, you know, in the lobby beforehand, he played Ace Mod. So that's kind of how the history goes, I'd say. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I believe now that the game has evolved a little bit to where it is, I think it's it's very important on where you position your gun players now. Like you said, you can't dead stop Hunters, so you want to put your survivors in best positions to shut down the SI. Don't have an Uzi player in the front. They'll most likely teach to make sure shotguns are in the front, so they can probably take those Hunters one-on-one. As they said in the last spawns here, Jockey playing with 2 survivors, not going to land. 100 pouncing around, eventually gets skeeted, and they will survive, but pretty much with just damage bonus here, Rails and Xbye. And for those that don't understand about damage bonus is affected when a survivor loses all of their permanent HP and then takes further damage. That is how that works.
We had back in the day in NA, at least, it used to be, because there were other things out there. There was like the CFG, I think it was the CFGB Cup or something like that, right? Dragon did a bunch of mentoring too over in the UK, but there was, you know, bonus system in place that was entirely just health bonus. And I was going to ask Xbye this because it's a really interesting question. I'm ready to get controversial already, even though we're already on the first half of map 1. And by the way, we're playing finale. If I'm going to advocate for us playing finale. But I was going to ask Xbye, for somebody who pubs nowadays, I know that you actually developed your own like server group and that kind of stuff when Valve was for pub games when that whole thing with the DDoSing was happening, right? But the question I have for you is, do you think it's harder for somebody to get into competitive now compared to how it was back in like 2013 or 2014?
I mean, that's a bit of a. I want to say
Loaded
there's a bit of a
question, I know.
difficult. No. I think it's a difficult question to answer. For the South American scene, it's going to be very, very easy to get into competitive. For the North American scene, I mean, honestly, you go join CETA, you go join Left 4 Dead 2 Center, but unless you get into the high MMR ranges, you're not going to be really finding a lot of English speakers. And not only that, but like all of these pug groups and pug websites and such like that, they're a great way to be like a gateway into competitive Left 4 Dead 2, but they don't actually completely set you up for coordinated team play, going into scrims and, you know, participating in these tournaments and such like that.
Well, because that's the thing. I think the reason that all of us are still here in some form is because, like, you enjoyed playing the game, and then you also had, like, a group of people who you enjoyed playing the game with in some ways. You know what I mean? And I don't talk to many of the people who I came into the game with. I still talk to them sometimes, like any kind of friends would do, but I, like, you know, there are just, you know, reasons why playing as a team and that this was made to be a team-based game. And I'm a radicalist, I guess, when it comes down to it, because I love what Center is for what it is. I love what CETA is for what it is. But if you had to ask me, I never would have made a pug group with individual MMR, just because I'm one of those people who says it's such an inherently team-based game that if we had like a team MMR system, now that's something I can get behind. But the individual MMR thing, like, to an extent it works, but then when you put people in a team environment against another coordinated team, like, everything changes. Obviously the top tier players have decently good MMRs, but that's not what makes them. We kind of said this to the lobby beforehand too, right? Like, in comp, it's not necessarily the people who kill the most stuff or who could carry an environment where 4 people aren't talking to each other. It's how well do you play as a team against another team on a certain map. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And like Team MMR, I think that's something that would be pretty interesting. I don't know, maybe we can start a GoFundMe and get Sir to start programming some stuff. Who knows? But
Sir's already. Hey, listen, that's a name that we can all remember from 2012 as well. So yeah, shout out to the people who've done this. We are back live here right now though, and Team Elusive on Survivor side is trying to capitalize on how they brought that last round back. In this version of the game, as you can kind of see, speaking of things that are a little bit different, you have this hittable up here, and also this bus that's added. And MK, I mean, that does add some kind of variation to this, but you really don't expect a whole lot of damage out of that first hit on SI side anyway.
No, not really. That opening hit is really tough to get damage, whether you're playing vanilla or you're playing zone mod. But in zone mod, it gives the players a little bit more options to play off of, as it's pretty wide open. So a lot of people think, oh, we're just nerfing the survivors. You know, Rails, we're just nerfing the survivors. We're taking their guns away. We're taking all the goodies away. That is not true. There is things changed for the infected as well. The damage lowered on the Charger. Charger only doing 6 damage per fist. Hunter only doing 5. Hunter cannot wall kick either. There are a few things changed for the infected to balance out, to make it fair so the survivors can react to whatever the infected do as well. So reaction time is key, in my opinion, and one of the big changes from vanilla and zone mod is one of the things I just brought up there.
But you're absolutely right. And oh yeah, go Xbye.
Oh, I actually wanted to point out, because he did mention the Charger punch being reduced in damage for zone mod here. The degeneracy that went on early on before Charger punch was reduced was very interesting. Like, you would literally just dedicate an entire hit to pinning someone down and then just having the Charger come in and just punch them down because the damage they dealt was insane just for clawing. That was
exactly,
that was interesting.
I remember that. The 10 damage thing. Yeah, exactly.
Where if the home and away games would happen, the away team would just get beat down from Chargers because you can't do anything about it. Yes, I do remember those pretty badly.
Yeah. Well, the survivors are making their way now, because that is going to be Elusive's team, like, mostly preserving their bonus as they move through the map. The thing about this is they're not choosing to shoot either of the alarm car that is alarmed. Let's see exactly what they do here, though, because that Charger's going in. Jockey's gonna land. There's a double. There's a triple cap. There's a quad cap. There is no way That is absolutely amazing work by the team being mentored by PowerLess Electrons, and if that is a forecast for the kind of people who have either played this game, you know, enough on Pseudopug and Center to say, hey, I want to talk with 4 other people in the same channel and see exactly what can happen. If this is the kind of environment that this is heading towards, I could not be more thrilled to be casting this. It's 432 to 201, and you guys were talking about quad caps earlier, MK, but we just witnessed one in real time. That was an incredible hit, and it played out like a slow motion train wreck, honestly.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I believe the coach would tell the survivors, stick a little bit more closer when the quad's up. I like to give reference to Left 4 Dead 1 during events. Like, when you hit an event, you want to go into a room where it's safe so hunters don't high pounds you. You want to do something similar with the quads up. Try to go room to protect yourself, because if they can't spawn and only come through one side, it's really difficult for the smoker to get in there and finish off the survivor team. And with them being separated right there, Xbye and Rails, you can clearly tell that the smoker had clean access to one of the survivors, and that is probably what landed the quad there. And I'm not taking anything away from the special infected. They did a phenomenal job of taking advantage of what the survivors gave them.
Yeah, I mean, this really does depend on the mentor, and I want to talk to Xbye about that in a hot second too, because playstyles and that kind of stuff come into play. Like, we can call it for what it is. This is kind of like a revival of the NA scene in some ways, right? And I know each mentor kind of has their different playstyle. It's not like the scene was entirely dead, but the fact that we didn't have, you know, the place for people, you know, centralizing the community to go and just actually have like Pugs competitive games in the same, whether it was eFreak, whether it was SDK, TFU, doesn't matter. That a place, an NAPN, something like that needed to exist, right? Because that is what the community kind of needs in North America. But in terms of the calling style there, right, I would almost be, and I'm going to mentor some of these at some point, right? I just don't feel like I've played the game enough recently to like be fully mastered the meta yet myself. That's me, you know, with my own self-opinion there. But the reason I say that is because maybe you start telling them, okay, some teams do like the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. So does anybody feel more comfortable playing towards the front? Because on that hit where they got quadded, they were all just kind of there. And then when they got hit by the SI, people weren't in the position to clear them because I think they were more worried about like the wandering common from behind because they didn't set the car alarm off. You know what I mean, Xbye?
Yeah, and I saw there that because the smoker there, he managed to grab Rochelle all the way in the back, and honestly, that smoker was up for a long time before any of the other SI kind of capped. I feel like they really should have focused down that smoker just to get the clear. A lot of times you might have people say like, even if you're gonna get capped, just make sure to hard focus the clear just to make sure that they get cleared so you don't get quad capped or something like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. But hey, we have 2 teams who both want to win this. As that Hunter's going to get shredded by those shotguns, and yeah, they're running the traditional kind of 2-2 set here, MK. Just because I think nowadays, especially on Zone Mod, one thing I'll say, having started to play more regularly myself and actually pay attention, it's like it's much faster paced for the survivors, and you don't have as much like people still bait. Don't get me wrong, but it's generally a faster config, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. You need to go. You need to make up as much distance as you can. Spawn timers are reduced. Not like when you play vanilla where it's anywhere from 20 to 28 seconds, or no, 19 to 28 seconds. It's always 14 seconds in zone mod all the time. So you need to go.
They changed that.
Yeah, there is no. Oh, well, they're gonna go in. Actually, they almost land a tri-cap. 2-cap goes in. Hunter gets a triple stumble. Jockey lands at the end, a little late to the party, and that'll be 2 attacks in. Not much damage coming out. Late tank as well here. Do you think, Rails?
Well, I'm thinking 2 things. The first thing is essentially that was a much better way to handle that quad because what they did is they backed up, right? And when something like that was happening, they weren't in transition. And for people who are just used to vanilla, where it's like you can have one person with one weapon essentially be safe from all things if you know how to click fast enough, right? Xbye, I was going to ask you, are we ever going to get to a point you think where we see a sniper in like the main config again in North America?
I don't know, that's going to be really difficult because there was a time when North America got exposed to EQ, Equilibrium, back in the day, and they fell in love with the Scout, and I think Jacob tried to put the Scout into Pro Mod, and it was, I think it was a bit of a disaster because you had a lot of really experienced players that were really, really good at aiming that were just completely shutting down SI attacks with the
right.
Scout.
You would have one sniper. Because I remember back in the day, in terms of the HR stuff, it was people like Purple, like Steven from Polarity, PSIM has his own, you know what I'm saying? Like the people who are classically real, Maidu too from the Router Pixies, like cool jerk sometimes, like, but like back in the day you could kind of carry like that. It would have to have some kind of way of being a gun variation that made sense and was limited, but didn't somehow break the game. You know what I mean? This hit's going in though. We have a nice double cap in the back as this Hunter does get blown out of the sky, but Rochelle is boomed, going for that clear. Now this is a big difference, MK. Why do you hit the alley there and not the ladder anymore?
It definitely hit there because there was no spit, so there's not going to be any value of damage on the ladder. And one difference as well from Zone Mod to Vanilla is survivors are now permitted to shoot on the ladder, so this changes the choke point at the top completely. So the Infected need to go on the fly with what they have, and I think if you have Boomer, you definitely go in the alley 100% no matter what, or maybe try to grab the survivor, the last one going into the room, and then just pile on them. It's really situational when you go into Zone Mod here. Some of the choke points change so drastically, and that was a good example of it right there, when you might want to see a standard hit at the top at the ladder choke point back in the day, Xbye.
Wait, say again?
The ladders, the shooting on the ladders.
The ladder shooting wasn't a thing back in the day as well. You had to actually go up the top of the ladder before you could shoot.
No, it was definitely not a thing, but there was a strat back in the day. They called it a shade turret, where you would essentially have somebody with the Magnum go up top and intentionally get incapacitated at the top of the ladder, just so that they can shoot all the special infected while they're downed.
I literally just talked to him like 2 days ago.
Shade. And it's actually funny you say that, because the Magnum now, when you get in-capped and have a Magnum, you no longer have it in your hand. So that is no longer a thing. There is no in-cap turrets anymore. That has been removed in Zone Mod as well.
Well, yeah, and the other thing about this config and how fast-paced it is, right? It's just like
an event tank. Rails.
There's yeah. First of all, it's not an event tank. It's almost an event tank. They're trying to chip him. So this Boomer's gonna spawn up, and the tank's actually gonna get chipped here. Just a couple hundred. It's gonna be the ill-minded Scooby-Doo with that tank. Let's see exactly what they decide to do, because the whole point is the survivors haven't taken their pills yet. They're not bleeding. And I was going to say, in this version of the game, when it's so go-go like that, right, there's also, it's kind of go-go for the SI, because there's no tank slowdown whatsoever either, because back in the day there used to be, and the guns still slow things down in pubs, right, Xbye, like the tier 2s and all that.
Oh yeah, no, and in fact, like an auto shotgun right now, if you were to take an auto shotgun going into a pub, you would slow down the tank so much just spamming, and if you have all 4 survivors shooting the tank, it just literally feels like you can't even move as the tank if you have all 4 survivors shooting you with an auto shotgun.
Exactly, and that's why when this tank goes in, he's not going to be slowed by any of this weapon fire, but he is committing on to the survivors. Smoker's going to miss the early pull as the tank does get this corner. Oh, actually missing a punch on Rochelle, now getting the follow-up punch. The Smoker has also landed. The tank is getting the in-cap onto her, and the hit's going in. Charger's going to miss. That's going to be a punch onto Ellis, though, and Ellis also slow. Tank going for a long jump punch right there, but not going to land it. There's the in-cap. That's actually really good damage for this, and the Smoker is going to land as well. Greed is a little bit separated from Wootlink. That's going to be a lot of damage going on to him, relatively speaking, as the tank does actually manage to get out on first pass. This is a really good tank that we're actually seeing come out here. Let's see if he can actually secure the wipe, though, because this Boomer is going for something. Going to spawn in. Going to get the double boom as the tank. Almost triple boom, I should say, as the tank misses that rock. Let's see if they get a recovery from this MK, but it's already a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah, Hunter finds... Oh, he does get another punch right before he dies off, so the tank will find a resting place underneath the balcony on the left. But now the survivors are going to be able to push on. They have 25% of their bonus. They do have pills, but no matter what, they're going to be slow the rest of the chapter. And you know, when the tank does die off, it's always going to be a 2-2 after. That's just the way it is on Zone Mod.
Indeed it is. Let's see what this hit manages to do, as the survivors are not going to be able to wait out this event or anything like that. They have to kind of push forward. It is going to be a Boomer going in to get another double boom. And if you'll notice, it's a lot of rocket booming. Haven't seen as much arc vomiting yet. Nice level, though, by Minecraft Steve 2012 right there onto Espresso's Charger. And, yeah, I mean, looking at this, the thing that I'm going to say about it in terms of what people are probably, you know, I'm really, really intrigued to know exactly how they're mentoring, because Xbye, the thing is, teaching somebody how to play this game in 2025 is a little different than in 2013, right?
But yeah, for sure. Like you guys have been saying, this is a much faster config than it was back then. Like trying to mentor somebody through this chaos and these low spawn times, I would imagine is going to be quite a challenge.
Indeed it is, and as this is happening, believe it or not, we have a jockey landing on Nick in the safe room, but guess what? He didn't spawn through the door. He didn't actually spawn through the door. Nick had the door open with all that bonus, and the jockey managed to land as 2 in caps went out in the back. That's a little bit too fast by Greed, and as Xbye kind of said, this is pure chaos. The thing about it, looking at it like this, when it's more of like an educational cast in some ways, it's kind of like, okay, there is so much going on from an outside POV that there really isn't a way, for example, in this situation for Rochelle to recover unless she kills a bunch of SI and also manages to, like, what, pick up 2 people in the middle of a vicious horde that doesn't terminate. Like, I don't know if people are prepared. Like, the thing that I had to adjust to, and I think everybody does, is like having to kill so many commons with tier 1 weapons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's something you're not really used to, it can be really, really difficult. Because if you're coming from pubs, you just grab an AK-47 or an auto shotgun or even a sniper, and you can just pretty much one-shot any of the common infected. Some of them you can even get multiple kills in a single shot from one of the rifles. So it's a lot easier to clear common infected in pubs than it is in zone mod here.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing that I did want to touch base on, another thing that's different between zone mod as well, we talked about the level right at the end of that chapter, is I'm not sure if this was in the past as well, but you can no longer single level a charger by yourself. There is no 600 damage level. I believe you can get about 200 and some damage, but if you do a headshot, it's 325, if I remember correctly. That's the most you can get on zone mod. So that's another change and another example of they're not just nerfing the survivors, they are doing other changes as well to the infected, but this is definitely one that goes for the infected side.
Well, it's something where the balance exists the way that it does because you have to be able to coordinate with your team in a way where you guys are on the same page. And I'm not saying that you can't do that in like Cedar or Center, but as we go live here, right, with the second half of map 2, the thing that's different is that all these players are in the same like voice program. And I know Lalo and his community do that as well, which is great, but Cedar and Center for the most part, at least if you're North American, right, it's kind of like, okay, like where would you even go in order to participate in that? But in a lot of the games even, it's just people talking who don't know each other in either the in-game chat or in the other in-game chat, the voice one or the text one, right? And it's just like, that is not in North America how I learned how to play this game. And to his credit, Lalo and other people in the South American community have done a splendid job of not only keeping the entire game alive, but keeping their communities alive. And it's like the North American version of that needs to exist between like Canada, the US, and Mexico. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's bad for the entire community when that doesn't exist. And the people who are playing in this game right now are having a different experience than they do when they play the individually ranked websites. So it's like, the fact this wasn't here, it's like, they didn't really have a place to even do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I hope everybody that can see this can also realize that if you want to tone your skill and get it to the next level, meet new people, that this is really a good way to do it as the attack goes. And this is another quad, by the way. Oh, what a ski coming out there from Rochelle. The charger find its target. The smokers clean up. No quad this time. They will continue on.
Yeah, and this is where they need to make up some points. Because the other thing about is with the bonus system and that kind of stuff, it takes some getting used to, even for a map that's so played as Dark Carnival is. And I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've played this map over the course of my entire time in this game. It's just kind of wildly absurd. But I don't know. The thing about it to me is that we're going to see them try to navigate maybe one more hit here, and then we'll see exactly what the SI do, because I vividly remember, and I'll have Xbye touch on this in a second, but I vividly remember that ladder choke being super duper scarier, like back in the day, to the point where people would even try to just use the individual charger and charge them off the same way they do in pubs, right?
Oh yeah, no, the ladder hit, every single ladder hit in this game was significantly more scarier back in the day. But that one in particular, if you'd have a smoker and a charger set up, you can essentially kind of perma-stuck people there because you can charge somebody off, and the entire survivor team either has to split up 2-2, which usually ends really, really poorly, or they end up having to go all the way back together as a team and pick up that survivor that got charged off, and you get stuck in a loop, and eventually you can't even make it through the ladder anymore because you don't have enough health.
Yeah, Ellis is doing what a lot of people do, which is he's basically shooting off the top of the ladder and then baiting it, because don't get me wrong, the SI can still hit here, and that's why this team has chosen to do so, right? The one that's being mentored by PowerLess has decided to wait to that point. The reason that they've done that, right, is because there are certain spots in the game where Spit will or will not do damage, and we'll touch on that a little bit more in a second too. But right now, this hit's going in as that Hunter is going to land after the Smoker. The Charger is going for the Jockey, and it's going to actually take the Survivor off the roof. That is knee getting gorgeously reset right there, and his team is not yet done, as that's going to be Nick falling off, and then Espresso falls off too.
Come on.
Oh no! And that is essentially what we were talking about. Xbye, I can hear you laughing over there.
Well, what I noticed there was that Nick got pulled off, so yeah, he got reset, but he landed on the trash bin. Meanwhile, Espresso did not land on the trash bin, and that's why he went down.
Yep. So that is a word to the wise to anyone who saw that. You have to land on the trash bin, or else you're gonna get in cap, or at least half your health. Nice ski coming out by Null right there. We've got Ellis going in as well, and the Jockey's also going to die. So this is not the ideal situation to be in prior to that tank. It was looking decently okay until that sequence with the Charger. And I mean, MK, what did you see go wrong there?
Well, what I did see wrong was the survivor walked right off the side by
Yeah.
accident, which just happened.
Were you focused on that?
Yeah, because I went down to look up for the Charger by POV, and I just watched him fall from the top. I don't know if he tried to M2 the
Espresso
Smoker.
knows this, because Espresso is somebody, and so is 9-0. They've played more recently. They know this kind of chaos still happens, where it's like, oh, I'm randomly getting stuck in Spit, or oh, XYZ thing didn't happen, right? That still happens, and that kind of chaos is still a thing, even though it's competitive. Like, it still has that, like, wild nature to it that Left 4 Dead 2 Versus does. But the thing about what happened with Espresso there is, like, okay, that difference in, like, what, 3 or 4 feet between where he landed versus where Coach landed, there's only one way to really mitigate that. And what they did is, as this tank almost lands a rock as well, right? And they're pretty much dead on the Survivor side of the problem. It's like, they still have to respect the fact that the SI can hit there. And I think they were relying too much, maybe a little bit, on the ladder shooting when they just got stumbled and then somebody got jockeyed into a Charger. Like, that happens whether or not you can shoot on the ladder as well. So I think they probably should have, like, spaced out a little bit, but they're not playing, like, super positionally either. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you had a position 1 and position 2, you say, okay, position 1 is going to run up there and do X, but they kind of just all ran up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. As you can tell right now, they're taking damage from the SI. Look at Greed. He's still first pass, 50% frustration, 580 or 5,800 health still. And they got 2 SI hits in there, so he did a great job of. Oh, and he lands a rock there, and that's a good example. He refused the rage bar, and now he has no reason to have to commit. He can just keep raining rocks from above here.
Yeah, they're dead. This is brutal. This is your welcome to competitive Left 4 Dead 2 moment, because this curve rocking thing, Xbye, I don't know.
Oh, it can get crazier. It can get much crazier. As you've seen in that one-on-one video from a while back, some of the curve rocks that you can do going underneath.
The tank is in, and he's actually down to 1,800 HP. I thought he was going to keep rocking, but both these survivors are fast. The Hunter's going in and is going to land, but the tank is down to 600 HP. It's just this Jockey and Rochelle. Rochelle gets the kill on the Jockey, but the tank is still right there. That's the... It might be the wipe, because Rochelle's going to be able to shoot once. Now, Greed's got it. That's the one saving grace, honestly, for Knee's team, right? That's the one being mentored by Elusive, is that that's their best tank out of the way, in my opinion, on the other side. Because Greed, you know, he's been playing from outside NA for a while. Yeah, he's a friend of mine at this point. It's one of those things where it's like, basically, he has a lot of experience playing on Red Ping. He plays with a team of his own, right? And then he's also kind of doing this, but it's true, though, in the sense where he hasn't competed a whole lot in, like, higher level tournaments. You know what I mean? So he is still learning, but by far, I think he's the best tank on that team, just based on the experience. So they got roughed up by the hits beforehand, especially that ladder hit, which I kind of want to, like I said, the fact that that happened is actually kind of huge, because the same thing you actually could see happen in like vanilla there because it can be devastating. Plus, you have the spit and that kind of stuff. Like, there are still a lot of similarities between competitive and vanilla. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely. There is definitely a lot of similarities. You'll see like the basic maps that are played. 'Cause a lot of customs are played in the competitive scene. But yes,
I played vanilla versus literally for like 2,400 or maybe 2,500 hours before playing competitive.
yeah, I
Like
would
that
I would
was
agree.
that was my
I
time
would
playing
agree.
like single player campaign and also other campaign. Like that was my time playing it. Plus just a ton of friends games and that kind of stuff. I don't know, Xbye, how much like pub / like vanilla friends versus did you play before joining comp?
Shoot, that's a hard one. Honestly, I want to say because I really didn't look at my hours back then, but I want to say probably under 300.
Oh wow, okay, so you joined comp pretty early.
Yeah, yeah.
Dang. That's awesome. That's awesome. Then MK, same question to you.
I played comp on release actually. I was part of a game battles team on Xbox.
Oh, nice.
And we
Okay.
played our first match on the 18th of November and lost by like 2,100.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so yeah, we did right away. We lost to the same team that we lost to the first time we played Left 4 Dead 1 game battles. So yeah, it's a little traumatizing, but it's very
No,
distinctive.
but I love that because yeah, for me, I really empathize with a lot of the people who start in pubs and that kind of stuff, and there needs to be more of a bridge between like the realism and the pub communities to this as well. We do have this hit going in. It's not going to do a whole lot of damage because honestly, here, without that spitter, like this is another one of those first hits. It's one of the things about Dark Carney. Other maps are kind of like this, but also kind of not. But Dark Carney on map 1 and also this map here, I mean, map 2's first hit can be now that safe room roof is open in all the configs, including like vanilla, like it makes it a little scarier. But this hit here and the first hit on map 1 really aren't anything special. And then the map after this honestly isn't either.
Cool looking water. Yeah, don't drink it.
Yeah, and actually, one thing that we did note that they are going to be playing the finale, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
For those that aren't familiar, in the comp scene, which I believe this originated from the European region, the no finale thing, and I believe it all started because they didn't want to have two tanks. They didn't agree with that, having two tanks on one map. So now most of the
Well, and
finales
also,
are
they
just
saw
one
it-
tank now.
They saw it. Not to speak totally for them, because obviously they're Dragon in Battle, if anybody remembers who they are, they should, because they were huge in the comp scene back in the day. Basically, it was that, and then also something, actually I'll get to that in a second, because Espresso's thing, but it's an interesting reason, they told me why. That smoker's going to land early pull right there as the tank is going for that corner. Let's see if they actually manage to get the in cap. Indeed they do, as Nick is just absolutely annihilating his back with a melee weapon. Oh my goodness, Greed just literally went to, like, they're nerfed in this as compared to vanilla, but that was still a lot of melee swings essentially going out on that tank's back, and that's really only one in cap coming from that. The reason that the Europeans didn't like the finale is because they felt like it wasn't like the rest of the game, because maps 1, 2, 3, 4 sometimes, right, that was played with the survivors in motion, and the finales were people standing around.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about that whole finale thing in your opinion, Xbye? I was personally never a fan of it on Xbox either, but I just curious on how you felt about finales.
Honestly, I want to say it's something that kind of grew on me, but only mostly because like it grew on me in the fact that like shoot, you start playing Sita in Left 4 Dead Center. Do you really want to play finale in Left 4 Dead Center or Sita?
No.
But I think initially when it first went out, I didn't mind it too much. I think World of Noise was incredibly against it, and she made sure that anyone that played Left to Learn would play the finale. I'm pretty confident.
Nah,
It was definitely a thing.
Yeah, the work that you and Juan did is just amazing. Yeah, World Noise. The thing about it is, back in the day too, like one of the reasons why I really like playing the finale is because all the matches that I saw actually had the finale involved in it, and ever since I've been a tournament admin, right, it's like basically you have the finale played unless the teams agree not to do it, but then like finale is pretty much mandatory, especially in North America. Like I vividly remember playing this finale, the Death Pull finale, the Hard Rain finale, and it's not that it's easier nowadays, but they have been changed a lot You know, to the point where it's like you kind of want to have at the higher levels the game won, quote unquote, by like map 2 or map 3 if possible. Even if it's going to be something where you have to perform on map 4 up to the level of the other team. This is a nice hit going in right now. The Hunter got skeeted, but the Charger landed, as did the Smoker. That is a lot of spit damage as well onto Wootling, somebody who actually played back in like the Ace mod era as well, which was the config that like combined EQ and Pro mod for the Bleed Out tournament in 2016. So it's like, yeah, no, this is...
Reloading.
I remember when that happened in North America, because the other thing that we should mention is that with the Uzis, right, the reload rate is faster on this config, and that kind of compensates for the no M2 thing.
Anyone else feel like crap right
And
now?
also, it
Well,
does have the Suzy has a wider damage spread from long distance too. I do believe that's one addition.
I absolutely, and this is from me playing the game back when the distance Uzi was a lightning gun on Ace mod. I just can never look at it the same nowadays. I really can't. That thing was insane back in the day.
Yeah,
Bring
and
back the lightning Uzi.
that thing was crazy. I do remember watching casts and back in the day of you and Kiss Me, Rails casting a game, and I'm watching the Uzi just empty a clip at a distance, and I'm like, how did that do 550 damage from like that far away on the map?
Oh yeah, on IVP, Impulse loved it. That Charger went in but did not land. The Jockey did. The Hunter's going in, but that's interesting because now the Smoker's going to land onto Nick and gets almost an in-cap. That's a lot of damage going out from that Smoker onto Greed. So even with that tank being dead, you know, they're doing a good job of mitigating some of this, but at the same point in time, it's just like, that hit can still also be devastating as it is in vanilla. The trick is, though, you know, you don't have access to the snipers to be able to clear that. And the other thing that we should mention, as opposed to like Sita, because some of the ways that people join this community now is that with the throwables, you know, you don't have any of those in this config, where Xbye knows is, you know, the Molotov back in the day, like early comp, was super duper important. As we see a double charge and a death onto Wootling from 9-0. That is as if he got a kill on his tank. That is an awesome charge, and you have to watch out for that ladder. What's up?
Oh my god. I don't know how, but I definitely see the Boomer stumble the Charger, but he didn't fall off the ladder, and he still got up and got the double charge. Coach went flying, and they couldn't clean it up here. Can they clean it up with this tri-cap? No, this Hunter gets skeeted. They're going to get a pull into the spit. Jockey gets bullied and killed.
Oh.
And that will be them surviving, but they've lost almost everything, including Coach.
This is such a momentum-based game, and after that, you just felt the air kind of go out of the survivors, just because they had the double death charge. Like, well, they had the double charge that resulted in a death. And this is a pretty tight game, because if you're sitting there from Vanilla's, like, basically saying, how is it possible? How is this tight? What do you mean, Rails? It's like, well, basically, they still... It's a tough map to make, don't get me wrong, and they'd have to score more points in this map than they have so far, but that exact thing is possible in Comp Left 4 Dead 2, and if they make the safe room with full distance, you know, they're literally just nipping at their heels at that point. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see how it plays out. They have to quad them first, however. Let's see how this goes as a double charge lands! There's the Hunter landing the cover as well. 2 in-caps and a smoker pull. MK, that's a wipe, and this team on Infected being mentored by Elusive, we can talk a little bit more about in a second. You know, because he's also a long-time player, but they are just not giving up, and I love to see it.
Yeah, they managed to find the wipe. Look at that. Round fact, 112 spit damage on standing survivors. That is pretty impressive round fact, and that's one thing you get from Zone Mod as well. A little fun round fact to check out. And I like to always say when you play with your teammates, when you're playing as survivors Rails, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, I like to have a little friendly competition with your team, because you get the stats at the end of the round and see where you place. So it kind of makes a little friendly competition with your teams, and I always try to be up there.
But let's talk about it, because Xbye knows where I'm going to go with this. But like, I remember when MVP was introduced, how much, and this is important because it's like, well, when people first join CM, it's like, oh man, if they have a high MMR, they must be good. I think a lot of people think that if you have the highest MVP possible, that you're the best player. Why is that a thing, or why is it not?
I mean... honestly, I don't remember when MVP was not a thing. I don't remember when it was implemented. I think it was implemented pretty early into the competitive Left 4 Dead 2 scene. And I know that it's always been used for, obviously, you know, people just like essentially kind of like showing off to each other or trying to determine who's the better player, but not always. Like, just because somebody gets the highest SI kills doesn't mean that they're contributing the most to the team. Like, maybe they're not clearing any common infected whatsoever, and the rest of the team is like struggling and drowning in common infected, and that's why they're not able to get any of the SI kills.
Exactly right. So the point is, when you get that common MVP, that can be equally as important as the SI MVP in some ways, because everybody on the team has their own role. So if they're not doing that correctly in terms of what the Uzis and the Shives are supposed to be doing, and that's the other thing, there's a little bit of a weapon reduction, I guess, from vanilla when it comes down to it. You know what I mean? Because in vanilla too, they're really like there's the MVPs and the scores that you see during the round, and some people latch onto those numbers. But I vividly remember a time when it was like, you know what it was? It wasn't the full MVP thing, but it was telling you the first hit like this. The Charger, Smoker, Boomer, Hunter splash that actually happened. Because I remember when that was introduced.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that. I feel like that's a little bit controversial. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of it. Like, keep the first hit kind of mysterious, but I guess in a way it evens it out between the two teams, because one team's gonna know what the other team had, etc.
Yeah, at the same point in time, though, now I'm really going to sound like an old head, but I know that it's kind of hard to play really good SI on vanilla, and honestly, I think a main reason why people migrate to the comm community, like, either by playing realism or by playing some other mod or by playing this, and this is obviously the place where you want to be when it comes to, like, actually playing the game competitively. It's not just that, it's here, it's seated at center on this config, although there are different options and that kind of stuff, right? It's like, I think a main reason people do that is because simply with the tier 2s and with good enough people, it becomes too easy to kill things. With that being said, I think this is a very survivor-sided config that we're playing nowadays.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. And right now, this is where I completely agree with what Xbye said right now. This is a good chapter where you would see 4 survivors take 4 auto shotguns and just hold the S key and blast away at this thing. And the tanking is not going to be able to get there. The infected are not going to be able to get there. They're just, everything's going to die and they're just going to back up. That's exactly what would happen if you would see 4 auto shotguns right now. And pretty much you would agree, Xbye, that's how this would go if they took this tank towards the safe room area.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like, if I was playing a pub game and let's say for whatever reason, I wanted to be super serious and I got 4 people that I want to be super serious with in a pub, we'd all just take an auto shotgun and we'd all just sit here. And when that tank came in, everything would just literally melt. You just aim in one direction. Fun fact, between Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2, oh wait, the tank's coming in here.
Indeed it is. Minecraft Steve is full committing in, managing to get that first punch onto Espresso, and then switching targets onto Knee. Then the Hunter is going to take that survivor who is kind of close to the tank, but it's actually working out because now he's going to go for the charge target instead, but it's not going to be that wipe. That tank is going to die with just that amount of damage, and as we kind of saw it here, obviously, that tank did a decent amount of damage, but honestly, I've seen that tank wipe in some very high-profile games, you know what I mean? So good on the survivors for actually shutting it down. What do you think of the support they chose to use there? Because I actually might prefer a Boomer.
Honestly, I think that area there is like pretty nostalgic for just having a boomer. Like, if you don't have a boomer there, it puts so much pressure on everyone as special infected to land their pins. And there's a lot of obstacles in that area there that make it very difficult for hunters and smokers to land, as well as the charger. And the tank has to be very, very quick to corner somebody and get them down. But yeah, definitely get a boomer for that area, honestly.
What a double charge, though. Speaking of boomers, that one gets a double boom as that charger also goes in, so that kind of helps some of the damage output right there. MK, I mean, this is possible for them to still make the safe room.
Oh yeah, and not only make the safe room, make it with bonus. They did survive the tank. They suffered 1 in cap and an extra punch or 2 onto Knee. But other than that, just the double charge they've taken there, they still have over 55% of their bonus. They're not going to have the greatest hit for the bottom here. I don't think they're going to have the spitter, if I saw my sack order correctly, no. But now I was just going to see if they could take the bottom, and I think they could have pushed this and dropped down without spawns ready. But now with spawns up, it makes this choke point quite difficult. And even in vanilla here, it's kind of not much of a difference taking this choke point. It's almost the exact same in my opinion.
Yeah, this is something that's going to be really interesting because the survivors obviously don't, like, they may have been able to deduce what the SI have from the kill order, but instead they're actually going to be dropping right here as the Hunter and the Charger both go up top, and they almost land the double cap, but they cleared the Hunter. That is insanity. Oh my goodness, I was going to say the survivors might know what they have, but I wasn't expecting them to take it like that, but they survive Xbye. That was I mean, that was close to being a double cap up top.
You know, the two people up there were their heart rate's just through the roof right now, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of those where if that had been a smoker that pulled him further away, I don't think they cleared the charger, and I think they both die. So I mean, hey, listen, that's what this is, because when you're playing a game like this, something like that can happen at any turn, like a smoker getting that much damage from pulling Rochelle into Spit already. It really is, as they get some pills here, though, you know, their map to lose on Survivor's side, but can they clear this coaster choke, MK? This is feared in every version of this game.
Yeah, the dreaded coaster hit. That's definitely kind of evolved in zone mod over the years by just a very, very little bit. It's almost just as vanilla as it gets, except for blocking some of the clips that'll let you go up the side and skip things just to balance it out a little bit. But that drop at the choke point, man, Null with playing is popping off today in Rails. I don't know if you guys have been seeing it, but Null playing very impressively, new into the community recently and casting.
Yeah, oh, that's going to be the jockey actually landing and then the charger landing on Espresso as the hunter lands too, but it's no death, there's no wipe, and I have to kind of say it here. I think people I think they over-rely on the charger and they under-rely on the smoker on this hit, because the smoker can get, you know, not an in-cap that results in damage or like an instant in-cap necessarily, but they can get a ledge hang, and then you can turn this into living hell for the survivors if the charger lands in any way. And what we're going to witness right now is kind of what I said. As that quad boom goes in, here's the smoker I was talking about, but unfortunately, they go for Coach, who is too far up, but Rochelle is pounced down there. This is also pure chaos, and this smoker is going to have a repull in just a second. They have to be watching the tongue, and they are going to make their way up without dying on the coaster choke. But guys, they took a lot of damage there.
Well, there's still one more reset here that the smoker can get. If they're not too careful, they might get pulled off into the beginning here.
Looks like the smoker is going to throw the white flag and not try the reset. Actually, he's going to pre-spawn over. They're going to go quickly. They're not even going to wait. Smoker and Jockey go first. Charger looks like he has a bigger plan in mind as he fails his rocket spawn, and it looks like he's going to reposition. Double boom lands on the bottom. Charger now ready to return the favor, what happened to their team, but he's going to save it for a little bit later on in the map rails.
And they are so hoarded here, because that's the thing. If you're used to doing crowd control with auto shotguns and military snipers, this is going to be the acclimation period, because Horde can just absolutely swallow you on whatever ping, especially when it's higher ping, when you have your international matches. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you have to be ready to kill a lot of common infected, and this is why what we talked about, the MVP, is kind of a fundamental thing. So to the high tier teams, or top level teams, it's like, of course you have to kill common, but the people who are new to this, it's like, you have to be able to, you know, find a way to really balance out shooting the SI and then blitzing when the hit is down versus this kind of thing happening. But what a skeet going out as the charger also lands, but the survivors aren't dead. I'm pretty sure that Nick is out of ammo, and this is just bedlam right now, Xbye. It really is.
Well, I don't think that survivors are going to be able to make it at the safe room here. Oh, and Rochelle going down at the top, and Nick going down at the top trying to pick up Rochelle. That's just going to be two survivors trying to make it at the safe room, but all they can really do is just run for distance at this point.
So it's going to be pretty much equal, though, because the point is the other team died. Depending on how far these two make it with their health situation, it's going to be pretty much a tie chapter. And with two maps still to play, it's absolutely anybody's game. The reason that I said when they got the wipe and that kind of stuff, like, okay, can they capitalize on it, as 9-0 does get that skeet on that Hunter after the death goes out on Ellis, it's like, you know, this campaign, when you play it a lot, it becomes very repetitive, obviously, but it's also one of those things where people probably survive more often. Like, right now, Map 4 and Map 5 can make or break all of this, and that's kind of always been how it is. Map 4 Hard Rain isn't as insane as it used to be, or as insane as it is on pubs because the distance points got nerfed, but people still get Map 4 on Dark Carnival all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see if the other team here can make another make a comeback here. But I do know, like, something that people would joke about is getting Map 1'd, where essentially the only difference between the teams was just Map 1.
Well, and that's kind of
Parish one?
that's Oh yeah, Perish 1 back in the day being worth 9,000 points, even though it's only 4 hits.
What
Not
about
even.
what about when Xbye when you back on Dark Carnival 4 back then? Was it also nerfed like it is now, or was it still 700 distance plus bonus? Because this one's only 500 distance now. It has been changed. I don't know if you remember or not off the top. It's been a little while.
Honestly, I don't know. It looks like, I don't know. It's saying that the map distance here is 500.
Yes, yeah, it is.
I typed in map info. Yeah, that's definitely been lowered. Yeah, because I think map 4 here, map 4 has always been a little bit survivor friendly, minus the event, but it's also like had very, very minimal hits. It's honestly a very short map 4 map if you think about it compared to a lot of other map 4s.
Yeah, I mean, one of these nights, right, because this is awesome that we actually managed to get this to happen, like, first off, and now when we make it more of a regular thing, like, going forward, it's like we're going to have a Dark Carney remix night and, like, a Hard Rain Downpour night, but, like, that's the more involved versions of some of this, just because those are basically the, like, quote-unquote competitive community versions of these kind of stock maps. The thing that I love about this is that now people are going to get to experience the Barn Tank at 73%, which has been a thing in this game for eons, and it's also one of the staples. And the reason that I say it is because, like, there have been very important matches throughout this game's history that have been turned by this tank, and it's all really about how you fight it, even with the changes nowadays. Nice first hit coming out, because that charger got 1 pound off that land, plus the tri-boom, and the smoker got damaged. So everything actually managing to get on the board at the moment for the team mentored by Elusive. The team mentored by PowerLess is still doing really, really well, and he's, like I said, he's calling well for them, because PowerLess has been around now, you know, for a few years. So you have some quality callers on both these teams then, okay?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. Even some teammates that I played with on some scrim teams, being Knee, also played with Null for quite a bit as well. Played with the Greed too. So a lot of these people I do play with, also not just pugging and scrimming. So it's good to see them in here, mixing out with some of the new people. And it looks like they're definitely having some fun, because the game is literally less than 400 points, and the Charger's going to go in, misses his targets, gets a 2 damage stumble back into the spit, but not much comes of it. Now the Hunter and Spitter just going to delay a little bit, but that'll be 2 attacks in, just a little bit more than 11%. I'm looking forward to seeing that Barn Tank a little bit later on here. Xbye Plus, they do have a toy to bring it in. I don't know if the hay bale was in there back in the day. They do have a hay bale.
Oh, they added a hay bale. Well, they also added this rooftop section here. That makes a huge difference. But honestly, back in the day, the biggest thing that I feel, honestly, I would love to see back, but I don't think it's possible, is we used to play this game in 30 tick on competitive, and b-hopping across those tables, even though that b-hopping is disabled from gaining speed, was actually a huge thing for the tank, because it prevents you from losing speed.
Well, yeah, let's see what this hit does, because it is going to be going in. It's a rolling tri-cap. The Charger got clear, but the Smoker still has Ellis snared in the back. Again, great resilience from the SI side here. They are still just hitting in tandem, maximizing on those shorter spawn timers, you know what I mean? No, it's something where I think it was Purple who did it in a grand finals back in the day, right? But I think what he did is he actually went into the center of this room, right, or near the center Xbye, and he threw a rock, and then his support went in after he threw the rock, and he was able to get to every survivor in that room and corner them. After he got his initial down, and then he downed somebody who was, like, pinned by a hunter, and then he cornered the other guy, and the other guy was, like, fighting off a jockey, and he managed to wipe them, like, by doing that. So it was kind of crazy, because they sent support early, but it worked out, because the thing you cannot have happen in this room, as you both know, is that you can't allow yourself to get movement locked by the tank in a way that, like, literally puts you in a spot where your team can't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it looks like 9 here is going to be messing around with the hittables. I don't know. It looks like he punched them away. Maybe he was thinking about putting them in, or maybe he was just playing with them just to, you know, spend some time here.
And he has to be careful, because he can get chipped through the roof. The thing about this is, right, if you try to rely on kiting the tank, that's fine. But with that new spawn being what it is, we see the 1 boom going out. It's like, if the survivors don't know how to move in that room, the tank is going to be able to get a quick corner and then also another one himself, and you only have to have 2 cappers blend instead of 3. I think it's going to be something where he has to go for... If I'm him, I'm going for Rochelle, but let's see exactly who he can get, just because she's the one who would be the lowest and the easiest to corner there. Let's see how 9wall does, because as MK mentioned, he is newer to the competitive community himself. As he's pushing Ellis around here, he hasn't thrown his first punch yet. Now he's whiffing. I'm not exactly sure why he didn't throw it when Ellis was in the corner, but that's going to be the down onto Greed. Charger's going to whiff. Tank's throwing a rock. He's landing it onto Wootlink, that being Coach. Nice punch going out right there. And a nice multi-punch, too. He's down to 251 HP, and he gets a good amount of damage. But, guys, he didn't throw that first punch for an inordinate amount of time.
Yeah.
I think what happened was he was trying to get onto Ellis, but unfortunately he got stuck on the table. He didn't jump in time, and he wasn't close enough to get that punch. And then Ellis was able to just get out of his melee range.
Yeah, that might have been what it was. The thing is, that tank can get shut down with just basically like an in cap in that room. That tank did a good amount of damage for the situation. That multi he got was also really good. But like I mentioned, the survivors did that thing where if you're getting multied in that room, that's the kind of space restriction that I was talking about, because that means that two people have kited to the same corner, and indeed, they are doing it.
I ain't dead yet.
This choke point has changed a little bit. Actually, I don't even know if it really has changed over the years. I think this is pretty much the same. It's just the middle of the barn that, just like you said, Xbye, they add some more things onto the roof that weren't there in vanilla. But they're going to hit on the drop here. Nick is still not dropped yet, but oh, the ski comes out there, the smoker pole. And that was a retro attack with a spitter, melted away. And nothing's going to come of it. And now comes the end of this chapter, and they're not going to have a spitter for this alley choke point. That's interesting. I think they might want to put one in the rotation.
Well, okay, well here's the thing though. They want to get the quad if they can, but I don't think they sacked for it properly. I think they're gonna get they're either gonna get a boomer or a spitter, one of the two. Yeah, there's the boomer. I kind of thought it was a boomer. So they're going to have to take this hit and then another one. But the thing is, they're bleeding. If I'm the SI, right, and I'm saying, hey, we want to win this game, we have to kill them. Okay, they have to kill them. And that's going to be the jockey landing right there with the hunter landing as well onto the one green survivor after the 3-boom. But the reason I say it like that is because they have a chance to win this game. Like, all they really need to do is they need to kill them, and then they need to make it, like, on this map, and then they also... if they make it on this map after they kill them, it's going to be, like, still a 400-point game, unless they actually have bonus, but they need to actually kill the survivor team right now, because if they make it in with this, it's going to be a lot harder, I think, to actually pull the comeback. Let's see what happens, though, because the survivors are trying to push it with Horde still there. The Charger's still up, going in, going to land only a single charge, but as Rochelle gets spit there, that's going to be more damage onto the damage bonus. With the jockey landing onto Nick in the back, and nobody is really covering Greed, that's going to be a full in cap, and that is really not good for the survivors, guys. They had that sealed until that happened.
Yeah, well, they do have... Can they make it down there before the spawns come up? They're going to be able to. I think they're going to be able to rally this and walk in with just change of bonus. Oh, the Charger. Oh, he gets a double charge. The Hunter covers, which slides Nick all the way out, but that wasn't the bonus that's left. It's all on Jacob. So the damage bonus is exhausted. And that is the safe remain minus one survivor, though. Greed dies off. But they walk in with 33 points.
Bonus. Yeah, they literally have almost no bonus. And actually, they're only going to give them 2 because one survivor's in cap. So that's wild. I mean, yeah, this is winnable. I call this winnable. What you need to do, though, is you have to make it with the 500 distance points, and you need to probably have, if you want to keep it competitive, you want to have like 200 bonus. So that gives you a chance to use the tanks on the finale. I'm actually not even sure what they've done to the finale tanks. There's still 2 of them, right?
Yes, there will be the one early one, and then only one during the event. This is the one of the normal finales that does have the 2 tanks. Some of the other ones do not.
Yeah. So it's one of those where it's like basically you're going to have an early tank, which people might not be familiar with if they haven't seen a competitive stream before. So that's going to be one thing. And then the other thing is going to be, without the snipers there and that kind of stuff, the survivors have to be in a healthy enough, like, situation to fight that second tank. And yeah, I'm not giving up if I'm the survivors right now because this is still filed under extremely winnable. Let's see what they do on the survivor side, that being Elusive's team, as PowerLess's team on the special infected side have done a good job of securing this lead so far. But the game's a little bit closer, I think, than the score indicates right now, because that is a pretty easy tank for the survivors to deal with. So we have the Boomer going in, essentially second to last. As the Charger already died, the Smoker died, and guys, the survivors are only taking 11 damage, and then they're moving their way forward.
Not much comes out of it, like you said, but they should try to move quickly. The commons are kind of locking up on the one survivor in the back, and they finally clean it up. Spawn timers are at about 7, the latest out before they get through the little farm building. I don't even know what that is. Pavilion there. And now they come into the bumper cars. Spawn's already up in rotation. Charger Jockey 2-2. Probably one of the better 2-2s in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say so. Just basically because, and this is the thing, we haven't gotten to the point because, like, with people who are newer, still it's kind of hitting in tandem. That's really good to do because the other meta that's emerged is the let's stack damage on everything meta. But we'll get to that in a second because this is just a classic charge spit landing in the corner as well as that boomer stumble. Oh no! Xbye, it is a tale as old as time, getting stumbled and spit by a boomer. It is absolutely crippling to any Survivor team.
Oh, and we see the pause.
Oh, we have a net.
Net on one of ours. That's going to be PowerLess's team having an issue, I think. And it wasn't the Survivors, though. Because that's what happened. He got charged in the corner and then boom, stumbled.
Yeah, I think in that situation there, the survivors need to get a little bit of trigger control and not pop the boomer. Pop the boomer on your teammate, making them stumble and spit. Genuinely not a good thing. I've never played this finale, he said.
Well, okay, so this is a generational thing, dead ass. You know what I mean? It really is.
Here's something interesting, by the way. In vanilla, there could actually be 3 tanks on this finale.
Uh-huh. Right, exactly
So-
right. Because you could have the earliest one, and then you could have the 2 ones after that. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't ProMod back in the day, like in the early days, also still have 3?
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
It was
I
a
remember
three tanks finale. That was a
Yep.
very interesting one. But I think not a lot of people complained about it too much because the second, or like when you get the tanks out in the open area in the stadium, it's honestly not that difficult of an area to take it. It's really wide open. It's really easy to chip tank. There's only like really one spot in that area where you can kind of like keep an eye on the survivors without getting chipped, and it's like essentially abusing fog, the rendering distance of Source Engine.
That's wild. See, now that's the level where it's like, okay, if you know things to that level of intricacy, that's the thing. Even having played this game for as long as I have, I still learn like stuff like that, and it's just like, okay, because and that's what I mean. Coming back to it myself after a couple-year break, you have to relearn the meta and see that some things stay fundamentally the same, and some things definitely change. From what we just saw, though, the reason I bring that up is because that boom stumble was vicious there.
Ammo.
That stuff is punished a lot more, because I think in vanilla you have the med kits that can kind of help you out when something like that happens, but you have to pay attention to detail here. Anytime you stumble a teammate and spit like that is definitely somewhere from between awful to catastrophic, depending on what happens.
Usually it's going to be a slow survivor, no matter what.
Exactly right.
If you're going to do that, you're going to take the full damage of the spit.
Oh, or a double stumble or something insane, yeah.
Which is nerfed, by the way, because in normal vanilla versus if you stand and spit, it will do 90 damage. In zone mod, it does 45. It's cut in half. That's what just respit will do, which is still insane, just saying. That's a lot of damage without a capper landing. You just swim in it, but they're going to go here with an attack. It's going to be a quad attempt. Smoker shut down. Jockey finds a target. Hunter gets skeeted. Charger comes in, also gets Nick, who was hit with all of the SI this hit. And Nick finally going to regroup with the team, and they're going to walk into this tank with about 817 bonus. And I think here, Rails, if they suffer just 1 in cap, like you were saying, and it's not on Espresso, who is all DB right now, by the way, which is who the tank should focus on to get the most damage, there is a chance they could even this up.
Yeah, I would highly encourage them to play Finale. If both teams don't want to, that's okay. But it's definitely something where they're going to need to know that for tournaments. So it's like, I'm thinking about it, because the whole point is it would be nice if we had that happen, and it'd be cool if it actually does happen tonight. Going forward, I'd want to advocate for it happening more, but it's also like in pugs that they play, people don't usually play the Finale. So if they really don't want to, I'm not going to force them to.
Fair enough. Hopefully they will.
I'm telling you right now, though, for me having played the game the way that I have as a competitive player, I'm sitting here going, it's winnable. Is it winnable is the question that I would always and still always ask myself, when playing this game this way. So the tank's going to be going in, and the tank is lagging 100% as well. This is a comeback chance, because that tank is suffering from a bit of the Wi-Fi, I'm fairly sure. That is something else that's happened a lot in the vaunted history of this game. that is going to be a punch going out right there, but that's the only thing that tank is going to get. And this is unfortunately one of those things. And Xbye already said it, and that's not even what I was thinking of. I'm just thinking of all the times that people's internet has still interfered like this, kind of like the weather in an outdoor sport. That was really unfortunate for the SI.
Xbye, they can make a comeback here if they take these next 2 hits pretty well. They only have 1 more hit to deal with, and they can actually take the lead before going into the finale. Boomer's going to stack off, but it's possible.
Well, yeah, and the biggest difference here is that you see Greed playing with 100-some ping, and you know, he's done the best that he's possibly been able to do in this game, right? And also Elusive is correct in terms of the lore. But no, it's something where like Greed's ping is consistent, so the latency is still high, but at least he's connected in a consistent way. What Jacob was suffering from was the fact that he was stuttering, right? Which is a little bit different in that way. But look at this! That's going to be a beautiful hit coming in. Not the quad, but definitely a tri-cap. Almost a rolling quad. Everything does land, so they knock a lot of points off the bonus there, MK.
270 about come off when the pills are going to pop. They still have 500. It's dropping very quickly right now. There's a lot of common damage coming out here. Everybody's just holding W.
This is what they need. I think they're getting a little too excited. They need to still, and I understand it's a high-pressure situation, especially if they're not playing finale. This is essentially to see who wins the game. What I'd be saying on Survivor side is, okay, just clear it out. You have to take 1 more hit. Get 2 people facing the front and 2 people facing the back, and don't have this situation happen, because that's you have the green Survivor getting separated near the phones. He gets spit on immediately. That's bonus off the board. And I don't know if that was just what they needed here, but this Charger goes in and lands a double charge as well. Like I said, it's so nail-bitingly close, but the Charger gets a pound!
And that's going to be enough to not let the comeback happen, at least on this chapter, if they're not going to come. The finale, when they get the clears, they got pills, 170 bonus. They have the spawns blocked underneath.
Oh, they gotta do finale. The game is so close. If the game, and that's what I'm saying, why not play finale in this circumstance? Because it's so close. This is how it is in tournaments still. And it's like, I don't know. But let's see exactly what they choose to do, because that is going to be the
Espresso already left.
It's 1,981 to 1747. Espresso already left.
Yeah. The GG's
Bad
come
habit.
out.
The Survivors are calling GG.
Well, it's usually the winning team that ends up deciding whether to play finale or not. They're like, oh, we won, so no finale. But it looks like the Survivors are kind of just jumping out here.
Wait a minute.
Are they going to be coming back?
But if their finale's the same, that'll signal the chopper pilot. We just need to start it.
It looks like Espresso wants no part of it. So it doesn't look like it.
They may have already left. Let me see.
Asking for the coach to jump in.
I mean, that was something that Left to Learn did a while back, is just having the mentors play instead of just spectating.
Yeah. I mean, if Elusive wants to, if they're okay with it.
I mean, I wouldn't see. It's just
Yeah, it's for 1 map of the 5. So yeah, that could work too. Yeah, Maya joining is fun. Maya's also new, actually.
Yeah, I'm new. Very good player. Played with him a couple times. Played a couple 2v2s with him. A few scrims as well. He was also somebody played with with what it was Darn and ACMD, just not heavily in the scrims like that one time was Rails. So he's up and coming in the community too, and he's a very good shot, very 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 good. So I'm happy to see him here and see where he goes in the next couple of months over the tournaments as well. I like following that player.
Yeah, that's really good. And they're joining from Discord now, so that's actually nice. Because the whole thing is, I get where Espresso's coming from, because it's like, okay, it's LA, and people aren't really used to that. But, like, it's something where as we get more North American servers, you're going to have Green Ping playing the one games and that kind of stuff. That's totally fine. But you're not going to have, like, if you play in the higher level tournaments, like, I'm debating, because what I want to do is I want to definitely run, like, an NA server-only tournament. Like, that's on the docket already, whether it's a weekend tournament, whether it's a full one, because Fig already did RPT 7, so he's taking a break. It's kind of my turn. So it's one of those things where I want to do that. But there's always going to be a place for home and away, and there's always going to be a place for ping balancing now, too, because that system actually exists. I know Prodigy Sim, who is obviously one of the godfathers of this game, in terms of the competitive scene, did that kind of like thing as well. I think it was his plugin, him and Sir. But it's one of those things where it's like Dragon, I think, tried it for a while too. But it's one of those things where having solutions like that is great. But at some point, whether it's real lag or fake lag, you're going to run into elevated latency that you have to deal with. If it's not consistent, that's something different. But like, I remember there were people back in the day who thought there should be one game in New York and one game LA series when it's both North American teams. And I always thought that was a little counter.
That's a bit
to the nature
excessive.
of the game. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Here it is. We're going. Oh, look how close
Oh!
he's gone. Jeez.
Let's go. So the tank is up in the hands of 9-0. He's going for his forklift, which is how you should do this here. And this, I always remember this being scary, because the whole point is, you know, teams started fighting it in the side room, which I'm not sure if their mentor's going to tell them to do that. I'd be telling my team to do that. I'd be telling them to go in the side room over here. Like the, what is that called? The America Burger, like, kitchen. And, like, they can do that, and they'll be in really, really good shape if he gets the hittable. And if he doesn't get the hittable, you can fight him outside. But, you know, he really can't take a whole lot of time just kind of screwing around with that. He got a dumpster instead, which, I mean, that's fine. The classic play is the forklift, but even if he tries to go get this MK, he's going to be taking a lot of chip.
Yeah, and he's just gonna send it. He doesn't care. He's got a smoker. The smoker gets the pull. It's cleared early enough, but their survivors are split. It's got to be taken here. He's missing punches. He eats a survivor all the way in the back. He's pushing Rochelle on the outside. The infected are not set up on it. He's going to the dumpster. Oh my goodness! How does that not
he's
hit
gonna get
us?
this. There's no way he's gonna get this.
Oh!
No, he's not.
Wow.
He killed his jockey as well. That's crazy. So this is chaos. He gets the in cap onto Jacob, and he gets almost another dumpster, but he is gonna die with just the one in cap. Xbye. I actually didn't expect it to kind of go this way. I don't know what the mentor was saying there, but that's actually kind of counter to how the meta on this has been.
On which part, the tank or the survivors?
Both.
I want to say over the years that I've been playing this game, the survivors, the meta has gone super, super aggressive. And I would not be surprised seeing the survivors being that aggressive there, trying to push up on the tank. I mean, you have those green fences that block the hittable and essentially save the survivors multiple times there. I think the tank needed to do a better job controlling his hittable. It looked like he was struggling with how to hit that hittable.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the other fundamental things, because to me, you know, I would always fight that closer to the safe room. I get that you can ship nowadays and you have Uzis that reload at the speed of light, but the thing is, if you get capitalized on there by SI, then that's when you really get punished, because you can be separated. If there's a hittable, you die, etc., etc. And the thing about it is, it used to be a forklift that tanks would put in there, so that's wild to witness. And MK, the other thing is, it's like, on the survivor part of that, that's one thing, but on the SI side, you know, that's like the comeback chance that you have, because you only have 2 tanks. So if you don't do a whole lot of damage on that first tank, then the chances of you winning, obviously there are quads now, but I wouldn't really be relying on a quad in this area, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's really difficult to land a quad here, because everybody's got to come from pretty far away as far as the infected. And it's just not easy, as I would say on some. Even though there's comments all the time, it's just not that easy to pull off, in my opinion. I agree with you. But nonetheless, the tank's gonna come up soon. And as you said, the forklift. There's actually two forklifts now. There's one on the other side of the fence on the left, and there's one on the right. So this tank will have two more toys to play with. Depends on where he's going to spawn and be able to take advantage of it. Spawns come in and nothing really lands, and I believe that was a boomer spitter died off at the end, but I don't know if they'll get the quad try.
Exactly. And for this, you know, we did it on map 1. I'm thinking we need to have 2 more war rooms this game.
All right. I believe it should be at least one more set of incoming horde before we get to the second tank. But where should we go here for this one? You want to go Survivor or Infected when it comes up?
I want to go Infected because the whole point of this is, right, barring them landing a quad, this is their last chance of bringing this back. That's a nice double cap because they managed to get the Hunter to land and the Jockey to land. But this tank kind of has to wipe. It's not, like, impossible to do, especially because the tank has the forklift over on the other side, but they really have to be on top of what they're doing here. So I kind of want to hear what they do, and I also want to hear what Elusive tells them to do in that circumstance, because the whole point is, right, like, the hittable control is the other fundamental thing that Xbye brought up, and it's like, if you're not crouching and hitting your hittables in the right way, you know, that's something that people also need to kind of become accustomed to. 'Cause I think you learn how to do that in pubs partially, but like fast climbing and hitting hittables and that kind of stuff, those are the kind of fundamentals that this group is going to also offer to like learn how to do. So, with that being said, we're going to toss over the Infected War Room one more time for that team. Let's see exactly what they do, because this tank's going to be in the hands today.
Oh, he's in the spot.
Top of the coaster. You know, top of the stage, my bad.
Yeah. You guys hit so I can rotate, maybe? The guys in front, especially?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Taken care of.
Oh, you're gonna get chipped.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose a lot here. Oh, I fell.
That's right. Take your time. Go up. There you go.
Alright, well, I'll get the other forklift. Is that dumpster? Yeah, dumpster is hittable too.
That one's out of play.
Let's see if I can get you. Boom.
Gonna get this other forklift real fast.
Ah, so hard.
Well, I don't know.
It's alright. Might have to just kind of go with this. Really no choice right now. Try to help him now with the hittable.
Oh my god, so close.
Go for punches. It's alright. Good try.
I pulled him off, bro.
It's all good.
I'm all torn up. The chopper's coming.
We're back.
Unfortunate for Knee there. Just that hittable was so close to hitting one or the two of the survivors. It's not able to find a target, but the survivors look like they're going to make this rescue vehicle here, Xbye, and 600 bonus is a lot of points for this finale.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? I know you tossed that to Xbye, but what him and I were talking about, right, in the caster war room was the fact that these hittables, right, like you said, they kind of make or break this, and Knee went for those hittables, but, you know, Xbye mentioned it too, that forklift is kind of like really, I don't know, it can be very, very, very difficult to deal with. As we see Minecraft Steve actually popping up with 49% SI here, 47% kills, as his team makes 1,328 points on the finale. That's a really good job by the SI team right now.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see the other side go into the same tank. I'm curious to see if they're going to try to bring the dumpster in. Null didn't, but still managed to get an end cap. Let's see if they're going to choose to do so, if they're going to play as aggressively or just back up and see if they can get it in, because like you were saying before, you used to have to go all the way to the other side of the stage to get the opportunity to hit the forklift in there. And not only that, you didn't have the grace period like you have now in zone mod. You'll get like a 15-second grace period before you start losing rage. And not only that, you wouldn't get both controls of the tank, so basically you're helping out your teammate for just an opportunity to get it in there.
No, that's exactly right. And you know what I forgot? We actually do have one more opportunity for a war room right here, and we actually haven't heard one from the Greens team yet. How about we do that real quick? Because this tank is up in the hands of Wootlink, and he has a chance to bring this home in style.
All right, let's go.
They're walking up forward.
Yeah, you should get time. You got time. Make sure you're crouching when you get in these hittable punches. It gives you a little more control. There you go. You don't have to angle it down either. You're fine. You're fine.
That's fine. Ooh.
Oh, unlucky.
Yeah.
You might have to go in with this. Do we have a boomer or no?
Yeah, it's a good hit. It's a good hit. Oh yeah, he's out.
Okay, you're gonna have to go in with this. If you guys want, try to send one SI early to help him out, so he doesn't get kited all the way. Oh, I like that. Oh my goodness. Get the hunter, get the hunter. You can.
No support, no support.
I thought just this killed 50 and cap. Okay. Ooh. Ooh, nice double. Honestly, that was pretty good. That hunter jumping around, that gave him a lot of.
Wow, that tank really, really did, as we come back here, a good amount of damage. Getting that damage spread at the end. MK, I don't know what you saw, but Xbye and I were literally just talking about it.
Yeah, he was spreading the love quite a bit. He had a hard time getting the first target, of course. Nick was being a little elusive on there. Kind of ironic with the name being that, but he does a little elusive on the tank for a little bit. And he actually punches, I think, everybody at least once. Dude, look at the survivor's HP.
Yeah, and that's something where you can tell that he played at some point in the past, and the reason is because he knows how to spread that damage around. I mean, Xbye, that's also been a strat since even Left 4 Dead 1 days, and it's still used in Left 4 Dead 1. Like, you can either in-cap one survivor in some circumstances, but sometimes it's better just to get everybody.
Oh yeah, spreading the damage around as well can be really, really good going forward, especially if you have another tank. If you can get everyone down to two punches, that's honestly really, really great for the upcoming tanks.
Reloading.
Yeah, and that's something too where it's like you have the chance to like play a rock tank. There's no real pressure on the SI side. If you had like a must wipe tank or something, you'd see maybe similar to how 9-0 played it, just with the hittables and stuff. But it's like with this, as long as you get a decent amount of damage, you can spread it around. Because if you notice, he didn't really like take a whole lot of time on his hittable. He hit it a couple times. It bounced up against the fence, and then I think he went on his way and just went for the punches. That's a really smart play by the tank, because the hittables are great and all, and they're like the home run play, but oftentimes you want to use them as leverage. But if people don't know how to do that, then they become too focused on the hittable, and then they can actually have their tank die. Anyway, this is a nice double cap going in right now with that tri-boom too. And yeah, as we've actually been able to establish this tonight, I want to say this to both of you, but especially you, MK, now that we have this opportunity to kind of keep this rhythm going, anybody who's interested in chat and that kind of stuff, like, please connect them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. People are asking in chat right now. Yeah, this is a community event. When we run these, this will be for anybody who wants to play. You can just come in. The Discord will be opened up. Say when you want to play. We'll let people know when it's time to join the lobby.
Yeah,
Depending on how successful it is, we can change in the future.
Exactly right, and they'll have the VOD to watch back as well, so they can see this kind of bird's eye view. Because these survivors, you know, they've done a good job keeping it close, but the biggest difference has been kind of spacing like this. And again, they're getting double capped when it comes down to it.
Thank you,
Crunchy,
Harley.
What the Horde has been at the same point in time. You know, this Hunter's going for scratches and that kind of stuff too. It was a close game. It was a decent game.
Thank you very much,
You know,
Crunchy.
it's one of those things where I think the biggest thing has been, though, there were that quad that managed to land on map 1 was one thing, but you know, going into this map, this meta, I don't know if it needs to be relearned or exactly what it is, but it's just kind of wild to see it played in this environment when it's not played on CETA and not played on Center.
Yeah, because after map 4, if you play on either one of those, it just goes back to the main menu. But they're going to come in with a spawn here. The Charger, it was really ambitious. The Jockey doesn't find a target. Nice triple boom coming up at the end. But the Charger is going to die off at the end, which means it won't be included. And for those that do want to understand the difference between the spawn rotation, how quads come into play, is it's really simple. There are 6 special infected in the rotation, and whichever 2 die first, or in the attack, you'll have in the next one. Whichever 2 die at the end, which means they won't be there. So you kill Boomer Spitter last, and you get a quad every time. Pretty simple.
Yep, and the team that popularized doing that was, of course, Pubstar. They are like the most venerated team in the history of Left 4 Dead 2, if I remember correctly. One of the top 3, obviously. They've had their own era of dominance. They essentially did to Left 4 Dead 2 what the Warriors did to the NBA.
Yeah.
It's like they hit like they hit like that all the time. And the two things that they did that some teams that are really good still mimic, right? Yeah, and then other teams try to do it and it doesn't work as well because you kind of really have to know what you're doing. So they would have Dave, aka Soul, be the damage bonus in the front, and he would take all the damage there on the Survivor side, and then the other ones in the back would kind of clear him, including Brian also with a shotgun somewhere in there, right? But what they did on SI side is that they did that 2-4, 2-4 thing literally every time. That Hunter got Uzi skeeted nicely by Knee as that Smoker got cleared. What I mean by that, though, is, as you mentioned, MK, with the Death Order being what it is, it's like they would cycle between a 2-2 and a quad cap literally every hit. Almost literally every hit.
And it just maximizes the opportunity to end the team on the other side. And due to how long they were playing together, their Infected is very on cue, or on point. And believe me, I know. I've scrimmed them every day for about 40 days when I played with that team, and we never won once, but we came within 300 points once. And that was quite an accomplishment against a team like that, even though they might not be having to play at their best as the Charger goes in and misses. Hunter Lance gets cleared, but I did have the privilege to play against their full squad, which I could say I was honored to get slapped by them.
Yeah, I had some close games, and I think Dawkins and I beat them maybe once on hard rate down quarter. I'm trying to remember that. It was Drop the World as well, and then we had somebody else who was really good. But yeah, no, they were a team that was feared in pretty much everything they did, and that was on a one-game NA too, and it's not a home away series, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, even for these tournaments that we're talking about being hosted on the one-game NA, it's like if you have 4 really good European players, who connect to the East Coast, that's what happened in Watch Left 4 Dead when it was Fig's team Serious Business that won that. Fig Tools the on remix, and then the team against them was literally Dynasty, so it was Brev, Dana, Zombie Man, and I want to say Inox too. But it's one of those things where it's like, that's why people see ping, and it does cause a difference, don't get me wrong, but Greed here is playing tank, and he just landed that rock with 164 ping. He's a Chinese player, right? And he is so good at what he does, and this scene is so varied that it's like you're going to be playing against people who want to learn from everywhere, as long as they speak English, and as long as they're able to communicate in a way that makes sense, without being as insane as Left 4 Dead 2 pubs are. Then this group is open to them, and that's kind of who we want here, because the whole point is the North American scene, or people who are okay to play on North American servers. That's kind of what we're trying to rehabilitate here, because the more of those that exist, the more people are going to play the other types of games as well. So we want it to be an international scene. It always kind of has been, but Creed's proven right here himself why, ping matters, but when you get used to it, you can have a real impact and be one of the best players on the server, even in this kind of environment with the ping that high. He misses that punch, but that's the first punch he's missed.
Hey, East Coach around there. Charger and Smoker team up. Survivors are dying. The rock lands, and this punch should end it there. And that will be it. And that will be, I believe, Team PowerLess getting the victory over Team Elusive. 3309 to 2315. GG.